Hey everyone, I'd like to take a minute and just show you a few simple steps that you can get used to and familiarize yourself with OBS so that you can use this to help set up video instruction and record those courses to be able to be posted on our Ethno site to be used for servant leaders training. To begin with, we're just going to start with OBS and some of the basics that are here. This is a great tool. Has a whole lot more features than even I utilize, and so, but I just want you to become familiar with it. When you open up OBS, you end up with this blank slate to work with. And right now, what I've done is I have my laptop webcam inserted here, and I did that by adding a source. And so you just add a source, and if you click on add a source, you get all kinds of different options of things that you can add. The primary ones that we'll be using is the video capture device and the display capture. You can also use the window capture depending on what it is that you're trying to utilize. The video capture device is what gives you the selection for the video cameras. On my particular machine, I have two different webcams. I have one that is attached to my screen, and then I have one that is a USB. So I'm just going to add a new one here, and then it's going to give me the options. And here you can see I can add my USB camera, and that just gives me a secondary camera. So if you were setting up a course video where you were recording you as the teacher and then other people sitting in on the environment, you could do that just by simply adding that additional. Another thing you could do with your add sources is you can add an image file. So like if we wanted to add the servant leader's logo, we could add the image file, click browse, and it'll take you to a highly familiar screen, I'm sure, with the file manager. And then we'll just pick our logo and say OK. And then I can just insert the logo here, and it shows. Now, this particular logo has a different colored black background. So if I wanted this to match, I could add a color source and add a color source. Now this color source shows up as white, but I can select my color and I can pick screen color. Come over here and pick that screen color, click OK, click OK, and now my color source is the same color as that background, so it blends really nice. And then as you can see, that inserted it as a layer on top, but we want it to be all the way to the back. So by selecting it, the color source and our sources, and then using these buttons here, you can move those all the way to the back. So what we've done so far is added two cameras and an image. And the last piece that we're going to want to add is probably our presentation that we're using to teach off of. I use PowerPoint here, and so I have my PowerPoint open. If I were to run PowerPoint, I run on an extended screen setup. So move my camera around so that you can see I have two screens set up, and the one, my additional monitor over here, is extended desktop. That way the presentation is operating over here, but my control is still here. It doesn't have to work like that, but it does give you a little bit more options when you're controlling the presentation. Again, two cameras, and what I'm going to do is add a source. So I'm going to add the source for the additional display, which is my display capture. And I'm going to say OK. Now when that pops up, it's going to look like this, and it's going to look a little crazy. And that's because it's picking the primary display where OBS is sitting open, and that's why it looks like an infinity screen. But if you select right here your additional display, click OK, you'll see that it looks now like my other display. Now again, it's on top, so I want to send it back. I want to move it down the layers so that my other two pieces are on top. Now we can adjust the size just by grabbing the handles. When you select a particular source, you'll notice the red box around them. You can just change the size of them. You can also crop them by hitting Alt and then grabbing the edge. That gives you a green line that kind of tells you where you are changing the size of the box. And that crops the box. It doesn't change the size of the screen. Changing side is the red handles. Cropping it is Alt and then the handles, and you'll see a green line show up. So I usually like to set mine up so that there's this. So we've got our servant leaders there, and then my PowerPoint. Okay, so I've got my setup. If I started my PowerPoint, which I transitioned back to my PowerPoint, and I started my PowerPoint slideshow, I'm going to click there, and while you do that, it's going to show up on the screen. You'll see that slideshow presentation. Here's my mouse. It's moving back and forth between the extended desktops, and you can have control. Now back into OBS, you're going to want to click the Start Recording button. Now the challenge is when you hit the Start Recording button is you have not activated your PowerPoint yet. In fact, you've clicked off your PowerPoint and not allowed you to activate it. So once you start your recording, you need to remember to take your mouse back over into the extended desktop screen and click on that so that you can now have control over that screen. And then I just use my arrow keys or my clicker that I would have, and I can move down through that and talk through everything that's happening on my screen. So that's the way that you would set that up so that you can control your PowerPoint, video yourself and either a classroom or not, depending on what you want to do, and use this to help teach. Hope that's helpful for you, and we'll post some other videos to show you some other tools that are available as well.